It's your girl Mimi. Welcome back if you are already a subscriber or have viewed any of the other videos on my channel. And if this is your first time here, I want to go ahead and take this time to say welcome and thank you for tuning into my channel, The Breakdown with Mimi. This particular video is going to be about Season 4, Episode 6 of Ready to Love. So if you happen to like what you hear, please show me some love by hitting those like, share, and subscribe buttons along with the notification bell so that you will always know when another video has been uploaded. But let's not waste any more time and get right into breaking down Episode 6, Opposites Attract. The episode starts off with the ladies meeting up at the ladies' lounge to discuss their plan for the week with Nephew Tommy. Everyone was looking all cute and it seemed like a coincidence that all the ladies were dressed in black. So, Nephew Tommy asked them to close their eyes and envision the person that they could see themselves in a committed relationship with. Vernisha automatically envisions Joelle, and Amber said that she was envisioning someone with nice style and a great smile. And I was like, what? I thought she liked KG. Y'all know KG's style is very eccentric, and to classify it as nice is a stretch, okay? So he tells them that that is the person that he does not want them to go out on a date with this week. He also tells them that he wants them to open up and explore their options because there just might be love where they least expect it. The ladies look like they're questioning this move, but they agree to go ahead and give it a try. First up is Alexis and Ron. They meet up to play a little putt-putt golf. Now, Alexis looked like she was coming from a meeting back in the 1700s with that ruffled two-piece jumpsuit she had on. Girl, like, what are you wearing? It was giving very much Thomas Jefferson's blouse, okay? When Ron sees her, he goes to give her a big hug, and he starts showing her how to play putt-putt. This is basically an excuse for them to get all touchy-feely with each other, and that's it. Okay. They start discussing their relationship, and Alexis tells him that she gets a king vibe from him, someone who can take charge and can lead her. Ron says he'll lead her to happiness. We know that he thinks he's an alpha male, so at this point, she's just stroking his ego. She goes on to let him know that she's also interested in AJ, but has reservations about him because he's what she typically goes for, which are the playboys, and she feels like she needs to get away from that. She then asks him about his relationship with Chrysanthemum. She basically wants to know if he's looking for a trophy wife, which would be Chris, or someone that he can build something with, which would be her. Alexis is so shady. He says that Chris is his usual type, but Alexis is ahead of Chris because he feels like she can take him beyond where he was or what he could be. As I was watching this scene, y'all, I realized how long it takes for Ron to get out what he's trying to say. Have y'all noticed that? Go back and watch it. He tells her that he's there to leave with his queen, and at this point, he likes his chances. Ron tells us that Alexis is a good catch. She lets him lead, but she's still a force on her own, which makes them a power couple together. Yeah, okay. They hug, and he gives her a piggyback ride, hopefully to the nearest 21st century clothing store. Oh, and I'm not even about to go in on those boots. Just a hot mess. Next, we see Amber meeting up with AJ in the park. Amber immediately tells us that AJ gives her major playboy vibes, and that's just not her cup of tea. But she's hoping to see a genuine side of him that isn't so arrogant and cocky. Now, I found that statement to be kind of funny coming from Amber because she was really into Troy for a hot little minute, and he was the epitome of playboy arrogance and cockiness all rolled into one. But, okay. They hug it out and sit down on a bench to drink some smoothies or juice or whatever and chat. AJ lets us know that he thinks that Amber is very attractive, but he hadn't gotten a chance to really talk to her before this. AJ asks her who she's feeling at this point, and she starts saying, KG, Ron. Then he stops her and says, oh man, I'm not even in the mix. She says that they haven't talked at all. He says that he should have invited her out earlier and wanted to know how so much time passed and they are just now meeting up. She immediately says, you, then goes on to tell him that sometimes he doesn't seem to be approachable because he gives her an arrogant feel. Like, okay, I'm AJ, I know I look good, so I don't really have to work hard to get a girl. AJ says that hearing Amber say that was a blow to him because he doesn't see himself like that. He thinks his confidence may be getting confused with arrogance, which is something that arrogant people tend to say a lot. Let's not forget about everything you said on the first episode now, okay? He lets her know that he is picking up what she's putting down and promises to put forth more of an effort to get to know her. Amber pretty much tells us that it doesn't really matter what he tries to do because she's not interested and that AJ is just not for her. The next day we see is with Chrysanthemum and KG at Seaside Lounge for lunch. Chris has a spread set out for them and KG seems very surprised by what she's laid out. Chris tells us that she doesn't like not having a backup plan, especially since we all know that she's not someone's number one. Here she goes talking about Ron again. She thinks that KG is very calm and cool, which might just calm her down, so she wants to see if there's any kind of romantic connection between them. There's not, and we can all see it by the way y'all are sitting up there looking at each other. KG tells us in his confessional that he was extremely shocked when he was asked out on a date with Chris because she's never responded to any of the communication that he'd sent her in the past, so he had chalked it up as a loss and moved on. He asks her what growing up was like, and she tells him she grew up in Italy until she was 7, and that when she was there, she didn't know who her dad was. She says that her mom just wanted an Italian baby, and that she just met her dad roughly 6 years ago. She says that they're cool, and she looks just like him. KG is fascinated by her story and shares with her that his dad kept denying him. But then I got to thinking, was it really denial or forgetfulness? Because remember, KG said that his dad had 11 kids by 9 women. So it's very possible that he could have just innocently overlooked a few of them from time to time. Right? No? Well, he said that his dad would reach out every now and again, and then one day he got a call from his cousin letting him know that his dad had passed. He says that dealing with it was tough, and that it's amazing how things like that affect us in life. Chris agrees and tells him that her mom isn't real affectionate, so neither is she. Her mom's way of showing affection is making sure that you're taken care of and that everything is good. KG asks her how the lack of showing affection affects her in her other relationships, and she immediately says, I don't do relationships. KG says, oh, sugar honey iced tea. He then asks to read her aura on him and says that he feels like she's about 70-30. 70%, okay, Chris, yeah. The other 30% is like, Chris tells us that he's about right because she feels like it's there, but it's just not there romantically. They both say they made some connections throughout this journey. KG tells us that one part of him is okay with trying to give Chris a try, and the other part is like, let it go, because at this point, no one can top what he has with Amber, who is his number one. And I completely agree with that part of him. Just let it go. Let it go. Speaking of Amber, she asked Joelle out on a dinner date at Lucio's. She tells us in her confessional that throughout this journey, she has really been feeling KG and wants to keep their relationship moving forward. But since Tommy is challenging them to step outside of their norm, she decided to set up a date with Joelle. Joelle walks up and says, girl, let me tell you something here, you heard me? They hug, and he asks if he has permission to give her a kiss on her jaw. She asks him how many other girls he's kissed on the jaw, and he says none. So she allows him to do so and tells him that depending on how their date goes, she may just return the favor for him. See, she wanted to see if Joelle had that Troy spirit. Amber tells us that she and Joelle have a natural physical attraction for each other, but she didn't see romance for him. They sit down at a table near a fire pit, and she asks how he's been doing. He says that he had a long day, and he had no idea that he was going to be on a date with her, but he knew that if anything bad was going on with him, she was going to smooth it out. He tells us in his confessional that he's never struggled with talking to Amber, but that this is their first time on a one-on-one date, so he wants to find out more about her. Amber tells him that she does like their vibe and asks him if he wants to be married again. He says, absolutely, baby. He says he's happy and thanks God that he's overcome certain obstacles when it comes to that, because losing his wife Courtney was hard, but he knew that he still desired companionship, and he knows it's possible. Amber nods in agreement. Then he asks her how she feels about being with a man who is 10 to 11 years older than her and has kids already in addition to their mom being gone. She says that she'd never want to replace their mom, but she really loves kids and has a loving, nurturing spirit, so she's okay with that. Joelle lets us know that you ain't gonna catch him running behind no 31-year-old. Normally, a sister at that age doesn't have it together. But Amber is different because she knows who she is. He tells her that her experience doesn't match her age, and it's like she's before her time. They both agree that she's an old soul, and Joelle lets her know that he admires her maturity. However, he goes on to stress to us that she ain't the only one who fine like that because Vernicia fine as a mug too. That's right, Joelle. You better represent for your boo. See, that's why he's my favorite, because he is such a nice person. He says that this is a hard thing for him, but he's going to go ahead and put a stamp on his date with Amber. Then we see him feeding her some fruit and telling her to chase it down with her wine. Amber tells us that surprisingly her date with Joelle was very romantic and that she could possibly see this happening again. They get up to leave, and Amber makes good on her promise and gives Joelle a kiss on the cheek. In her confessional, she says that she feels bad for kissing Joelle because KG is her number one, so that gave her a lot to think about. I thought this date was cute, but I don't see longevity in a Joelle-Amber relationship. I think Vernicia is more of his speed versus Amber based on the life experiences that they have in common and where they are in life in general. Amber is a very mature, smart, and ambitious woman, but I feel like she lacks the familiarity of Joelle's family situation and what it would actually take to raise someone else's children, which could prove to be a problem if they decide to enter into a relationship. Vernicia, on the other hand, has kids of her own, so she'd be more prone to understanding and working through the ins and outs of blending families. I'm not saying that 100% Vernicia is Joelle's person, but I am saying that I feel like she's more of his person than Amber is. Okay, y'all. Now we are at the aquarium with Liz and Jason. Liz has set up a private picnic lunch date near the Ferris wheel. They give each other a hug, and you can tell that Jason is still love-struck. However, keep in mind, Liz is yet again wearing another very form-fitting jumper that shows all of her curves. She tells us that her heart is still with David, but she and Jason have a great connection and they share some of the same ideals and thoughts, so she's excited to get this time with him. I'm trying to figure out what ideals and thoughts they have in common. Did I miss it? He pulls out her chair for her and admits in his confessional that when he saw her, he got nervous because she is fine. They toast to a good time and getting to know each other more. He goes on to tell us that after the masquerade ball, there's some kind of interest there on both sides. Then says, "And did I mention she's fine?" "Yes, you did, and we'd appreciate it if you'd stop saying it." Ugh. During their lunch conversation, he asks her if there's anything that she would like to know about him, and she says yes, then goes on to ask how he feels about sex before marriage. He says, good question. Abstinence, celibacy, all that. I'm for it if you for it. I will support that. It'll be a struggle. Then he leans over to look at her body and says again, it'll be a struggle. But if that's something that we're leaning towards, marriage, I'm going to respect that and I'm going to honor you. Liz says that's important to her because ultimately she wants marriage. She then asks him if he has an issue with dating older women since she's 40 and he's 36. That's not really a huge age gap though, if you ask me. I don't know. He says, hell no. 40? That's young. You look younger than me, woman. Liz says she'll take that. They decided to have a little fun and get on the Ferris wheel. Jason puts his arm around her, and while they are overlooking the city, he decides to make his move by grabbing Liz's face and giving her a kiss on the lips. Ew. She smiles and lets us know that she wasn't expecting her first kiss on this journey to be with Jason, but they are feeling each other, and it was beautiful, very romantic. She says that he was just a perfect gentleman, and it felt great. In Jason's confessional, he says that he believes on this date, Liz showed him a side of herself that she hasn't shown any of the other men. He says that she may be fond of another brother, but he felt like she dropped her guard and really allowed herself to open up to him. He helps her pack up their picnic lunch, and they talk about how much they enjoyed their date. Then he leans in for another kiss on the lips. Sir, I'm going to need you to slow your roll. Can she breathe? Oh. Liz tells us that her connection with Jason has grown a lot more, but she genuinely cares about David, so it's a tough decision for her. Like I said in my last review, I'm not sensing the seriousness in Jason when it comes to Liz. I'm just not convinced. And I'm really bothered by the fact that she is legit falling for his foolishness. I don't think that he's really down with no sex until marriage, and it reads like he's just trying to say whatever he thinks is going to impress Liz. It just feels like his connection with her is purely physical because he keeps harping on how good she looks and how fine she is, yet he hasn't told us anything beyond the obvious. We haven't heard him ask her any questions about her life or anything of substance, but he wants us to believe that they have so much in common and are a perfect match. No, sir. Not buying it. Jason is just nerve-wracking to me. And Liz needs to wake up and realize that Jason is not the look she needs to be going for. Sitting up there looking like he's on a date with his college professor. She's looking all refined and polished, and he's sitting there looking like a goofball. Somebody go find David and bring him over here, please, because I'm about done. The next date we see is with Kyra and AJ. And I'm just praying that he brought a card that actually works tonight. Amen? Amen. When Kyra pulls up to Tony's restaurant for their dinner date, AJ opens up her car door and hands her a big bouquet of flowers. They hug and head into the restaurant. Kyra lets us know that Jason is still her sweetheart, but she is down to see where things go between her and AJ because they do share similarities when it comes to business and family. AJ leads her into a private room at the restaurant that he had set up just for the two of them, and Kyra is truly surprised. She tells him that she does like him and wants to see what could be there, but she thinks he's more of a wild card. AJ tells us that he is excited about having this one-on-one date with Kyra, and that nothing can go wrong because he's trying to work his way out of a hole with her. Kyra wants to play the game Never Have I Ever while they eat, and AJ is down for it. She says, never have I ever cheated. If this is something that you have done, then you have to take a sip of your drink. Then she asks if high school counts. They both end up taking a sip. AJ says, never have I ever been in love. They both take a sip. Kyra asks if she can find out a little bit more about that situation, and AJ says that he's been in love a bunch of times. She asks why those relationships didn't work. Did you communicate what you needed out of that relationship to that person? He says he believes he did, but he probably wasn't as effective at doing it as he could have been. He goes on to say that it's hard for him to trust things that people say. Kyra says that it sounds like there's a breakdown in communication because if you're in an intimate relationship and no one is understanding the other, then the love languages aren't being communicated effectively. If we're both just talking and it's not productive, then what is the purpose? He says there's a lot of purpose sometimes. And she says if we're not understanding each other and I'm having a problem with something, Kyra tells us that she feels like her communication with AJ is stifled and she doesn't know what it is, but there's something about when they are together that is kind of hit or miss. She tells him that sometimes when they are having a serious conversation, he'll veer off topic to avoid what they're talking about. AJ tells us that he feels like he's in the hot seat now and is nervous. He also says that his last relationship ended due to a lack of communication, so he knows that he needs to be as upfront as he can about how he's feeling and where he is. He opens up and tells Kyra that throughout the majority of his childhood, he had a lot of autonomy and was very independent where he had to figure things out on his own. So in past relationships, it's been an obstacle being able to be interdependent with the woman. He tells us that he was raised by a single parent and was the firstborn, so he tends to be a loner and kind of walks to the beat of his own drum. Kyra says that she would hope that it could be a joint effort between the two of them to create a space where they can see what this can seriously be. He says that this process has illustrated to him that in order to get the stuff that you want, you have to risk. And he understands that it's going to be difficult at times, but he feels like he's ready. He tells her that he wants someone having his best interests at heart and having his back, and who can provide a different perspective on what's going on. Kyra says, okay, that's easy. I can do that. AJ says that he wants to find a companion that he can ultimately grow old with. He asks Kyra where he stands with her, and she happily tells him that he's been in her top 3 from the beginning. She tells him that he is someone that she can see herself leaving this experience with and really feeling like they are ready to love each other. She just wants their guards to continue coming down so that their true hearts are exposed to one another. In her confessional, she tells us that she's seen the softer side, the more intentional side, and the more serious side of AJ. She says that their date was romantic and she is very impressed. Plus, she got a private room, flowers, candles, and lobster that she didn't have to pay for this time. Look at God. AJ kisses her hand and she asks for a kiss on both cheeks, to which he gladly obliges. Looks like AJ has redeemed himself after all, y'all. Okay, so I'm not sure how I feel about Kyra taking AJ seriously because we already know about their past and how he played her. So it's hard to tell if he truly wants to become a better man for Kyra or if he's just doing some damage control so that he won't look so bad out in these streets, because the streets were definitely talking about his broke behind. It's like I feel for Kyra the way I feel for Liz, because it looks like they are both developing some serious feelings for men who aren't being super authentic. And to make things worse, Kyra could very well end up like Amber will with KG and have to completely fund AJ's entire existence if she gets in too deep with him. By the way, am I the only one who wanted to tone down the contour on Kyra's nose in this scene? Oh my god, I just want to jump through the screen and blend it out for her. Anyway, I'm really worried about both AJ and Jason for Kyra at this point, but I do feel that she's smart enough to see through the BS, so I'm 100% banking on that. The last and final date is at the Taste Bar for breakfast or brunch with Vernisha and Diedrich. Vernisha tells us that she thinks Diedrich is ambitious and that they connect in that area, but he doesn't open up a lot, so she's hoping to see if she can get him to do that on their date today. I have no idea what we're doing here, because we all know that Vernisha only has eyes for Joelle, point blank and the periods, okay? But let's go ahead and entertain the situation for a little while. We got time. Diedrich arrives and gives her a hug, then says that he's going to scoot closer to her. He asks her what made her pick that restaurant, and she says because she likes the food and the ambiance. He tells us he likes Vernisha and thinks she's a goddess. He feels like she's really here for love and thinks that's commendable about her. She asks how he's feeling because she can admit that she's been a little overwhelmed with everything. He says, "It's funny you ask that because you've been on my mind. I just think it's just that I feel a connection with you. You putting yourself out there, and that's one of the major qualities that I do like about you." Then he goes on to ask what a normal day looks like for her, and she says her day is pretty busy because she's either at dance practice or choir practice, so she's running around with her kids most of the time if she's not working or talking to Joelle. I'm just saying, she did say that. After hearing that, he asks if she even has time for a relationship, and she says, "I do. You make time for what you want, and I want a relationship." In his confessional, Diedrich says that when he and Vernisha are in public together, there are sparks, and if he had to pick today, he'd choose her. Question: when have they been in public together other than right now for him to see these so-called sparks? Better yet, is he the only one seeing them, or does she see them too? Because it's giving no. He asks if she has any expectations from a man, and she says, just for you to be a leader, be the head of your household, not just knowing how to be a man. Diedrich says, but there's many levels to being a man, so it's subjective. To some women, being a man is paying all the bills, cooking, cleaning, doing everything. Vernisha tells him that she's been taking care of herself and her 3 daughters by herself for a long time, so she's not looking for anyone to pay all of her bills. But she would like her man to be able to take some of the slack off of her. She needs someone who can lead her. He says, okay, so do you see any of those qualities in me? And she says that's why she's asking, because she doesn't know. She's trying to learn the leadership side of him. She goes on to say that she knows she's not for everybody, and it's going to take a special type of man to win her over, like Joelle. He says that she's a tough one too, and she disagrees. She thinks that she's not tough, just zero tolerance. He says that's tough. She disagrees again and says, no, it's just not allowing people to just do anything to you, period. He tells her that she makes him nervous, and she tells us that she doesn't like that Diedrich said he gets nervous around powerful women because she needs him to be real confident when he's dealing with her, which is why she's very much into Joelle. She says if she has a man that she has to lead, then to her it defeats the purpose of having a man. Deidre tells her, "You make me nervous, and I don't even want to eat no more, but I want to walk you to your car." She takes a sip of her drink and unexcitedly says, "Thank you." Look, there's not much to say about this date because we all know that the only reason it ever happened is because they were told to. Vernisha is not interested in Diedrich beyond being a friend, and Diedrich totally ruined any chance of gaining a connection with Vernisha by acting all weird and clamming up. Just throw the whole date away. Plus, Diedrich doesn't have a connection with any of the ladies left on the show at this point, so that's that on that. It's deliberation time, so the ladies meet back up at the ladies' lounge with Nephew Tommy to discuss what progress, if any, they had with the fellas this week. Tommy asked them if any side pieces turned into the main course, and the ladies started laughing. Alexis talks about her date with Ron and says that he is her complete opposite, so she took him out to play putt-putt golf. She says that sometimes when you talk on the phone to people and then you actually meet them and are in their presence, it's not the same chemistry. But that wasn't the case for them because their connection was magical. He was very affectionate. There were a lot of hugs. There was a piggyback ride. And he did say that I'm his number one, so cheers to that. Chris definitely caught that shade and tells us that Alexis still feels like she's his top, and that's fine because he shows her different and she feels like she's his top. So she's not even worried about who he's saying his top is. As much as I wish that were true, it just isn't. Everyone is so concerned about Ron's top except for me. Alexis knows that Chris is bothered that Ron has her sitting at number 2, and she is purposely gaslighting her to get a reaction. I'm trying to figure out what it is about Ron that all these ladies are after. He must possess something that is not being exposed on the show. Because when I tell you that I am truly baffled at this one, I mean it. If y'all know why these ladies are so concerned about being in Ron's top, please comment down below and let your girl know. Thank you. So Amber starts spilling the tea about her dinner date with Joelle. She said he asked to feed her, and did. Tommy lets her know that she's definitely blushing right now, and she said that she honestly was surprised by Joelle because he gives her more of that country boy swag, but he's really sweet and romantic. Amber says, he asked to kiss me when he first came in, and I told him that he could earn me kissing him back at the end of the date, and I did reciprocate. Vernisha lets us know that she was a little hurt by hearing that Joelle had kissed Amber, considering that they had never shared a kiss. She felt like him doing that disregarded her feelings all the way around. Now here's the problem I have with Amber's version of the date. She tried to make it seem like Joelle came in and immediately asked to tongue her down. And she said, okay, and told him that if their date went well, she'd tongue him back down at the end. No, ma'am. He simply asked if he could give you a kiss on your cheek as a greeting. And you tried to turn it into more than what it was, which looked super shady and very deceptive, considering you knew Vernisha was sitting there with her antennas on full blast, dissecting every word you were going to say about her man. It was real messy, and you went and got that girl all upset and in her feelings over something that wasn't even that serious. Oh, you wrong for that. Kyra shares the deets on her redemption day with AJ and lets everyone know that it was probably one of the most romantic dates that she's ever been on. Tommy throws some shade and asks her if he paid for everything this time, and she laughed and said he did. She told them that when she pulled up, he opened her car door for her, he had roses for her, she had lobster. She said he went from being her worst day ever to the best day ever, and she was very thankful. They all acknowledged that that's a big turnaround. Tommy asks if it's safe to say that AJ is her top, and she says it's between him and Jason. She explains that Jason is her safe space, and AJ has an uncertainty about him because he has a little flirty thing going on with everybody. She knows that Jason will handle her with care because he does that already, but AJ is on his heels. Tommy says that she's just trying to make sure he ain't slick. Now, Kyra's account of her date had both Alexis and Liz side-eyeing her because Alexis is feeling AJ and Liz is feeling Jason, and Kyra has access to both of them. Liz lets everyone know, especially Kyra, about her date with Jason and says that it was beautiful. They got to talk more about each other and experience more with each other. She says they hopped on the Ferris wheel and were enjoying the moment when he leaned in to kiss her. She said that it was a peck on the lips, and Tommy asked if she liked the peck. She says that she did, and that the date made her see him in a different light. Kyra says that hearing Liz talk about Jason on their date kind of rubbed her the wrong way, but she's highly competitive and she's coming for everything that Liz is saying. I love the competitive spirit in Kyra, and I'm positive that Jason will lay it on as thick as she lets him whenever they go on another date, because that's just the type of dude he is. My thing is, I just don't think that he's worthy of either one of these ladies, and them being competitive over him is only feeding his ego and giving him way too much credit. So Tommy then goes on to ask who the ladies are not feeling. Vernisha tells the group that she and Deidre went to the taste bar, then hesitates a little before saying, well, the food was really good. The ladies laugh and Alexis says, the shade. Vernisha says she doesn't have anything bad to say about Deidre, but she feels like she's still learning him because he doesn't completely open up to her. She states that she doesn't want a nervous man and that she's big on confidence and leadership. Liz chimes in and says that she thinks he's a nice man, but doesn't see him being the one for her. Kyra says that she's had some good conversations with Deidre, but he's too far down for her. See? Now that trust is gone, no one is checking for you. Chrysanthemum says that she went out with KG and they talked about their relationships with their dads, but that it didn't get any deeper than that and that there's no romantic connection between the two of them. Kyra states that she sees KG as more of a friend than someone she'd be romantically connected with. Alexis says that she still has him in the friend zone as well. Now, y'all know that Amber wasn't about to let her boo get sent home on her watch. So, Amber says that she feels like AJ is playing the game and is just being charming to get what he needs to get at the moment. Kyra jumps in and says, hold on now, what is you saying? Amber says, I'll let y'all say Chris, honey, so, AJ brought this up on our date and wanted to know why I didn't put forth the effort. And I told him that I put forth the effort with people who put forth an effort with me. And that doesn't mean I'm going to chase you. She says that she doesn't feel like he's trying and that he feels like his good looks are going to carry him through. And for that, she's going to have to say that she's not feeling AJ. Vernisha says that she too would have to say AJ because she thinks that he has a lot of growing up to do. Liz says that her and AJ's belief systems are different, so that's why he's at the bottom for her. Girl, newsflash, David is the only one who honestly has the same belief systems as you. Hello? Alexis decides to join in on the Let's Vote AJ into the bottom two party and says, you know, what I'm feeling like right now, after listening to this conversation, and don't come for me, Kyra, but AJ is really going to the bottom for me right now. Kyra tells us in her confessional that she is taken back by all the ladies who currently have AJ in their bottom, and that it's emotionally overwhelming for her. Tommy tells them that they have some difficult decisions to make and announces that they are now at the halfway point. The ladies agree that the process is getting harder for them, but they have to decide which two men are at risk of going home this week and which two ladies will be accompanying them on their elimination dates to give them the news. And we find out that Deidre and AJ are the two men who are up for elimination this week. Deidre is meeting up with Kyra and AJ is meeting up with none other than Alexis. Deidre says that he's never had a date with Kyra, but their conversations are always really dope. He seems very impressed with Kyra's outfit because as soon as he sees her, he says, wow, and tells her that she looks nice. She returns the compliment and points out that she likes his kicks. AJ and another one of his scarves meet up with Alexis, and when she sees him, she says, hey, handsome, long time no see. They hug and he tells us that he's excited about his date with Alexis, but doesn't necessarily know where he sits with her anymore. They both claim that they haven't been able to get a hold of one another lately, and Alexis says it makes her feel like he's not that interested. Oh my God. As soon as she says that, he grabs her hands and turns her around so that she is now sitting on his lap, which she happily submits to, by the way. Then she loses her frame of thought because her mind is clearly on other things now, being the biggest thirst bucket that she is. Kyra asks Diedrich how this process has been for him, and he says he's trying to figure out who's here for the realness, because at the end of the day, he just always wants to be authentic. Kyra tells Diedrich that when it comes to him, the ladies have both high and low feedback. One minute they feel like he's feeling them, then the next minute they aren't really sure. Alexis regains a little focus and tells AJ that his consistency hasn't been there, and she wants to know if that's because of Kyra or anyone else he's more interested in, because she wasn't getting any attention. She finally realizes that she's not focusing and needs to get off of his lap so that she can properly deliver the news that she came to bring. Duh. She lets him know that the ladies had a deliberation and that he was in everyone's bottom. He asks if he was at the bottom of her list, and she says yes, he was on the chopping block for her today. She tells AJ that the ladies feel like he's a playboy, wonder if he's here for the right reasons, and that he gives off a sexual vibe with everyone. She tells him that they want to feel like when they talk to him, he's being genuine. After hearing this, AJ looks disappointed and defeated. He tries to grab Alexis's hand, and she rejects him, shockingly. Kyra tells Diedrich that she knows he's feeling Vernisha, and she told them that he's a great guy, so there could be something, but he has to first be real with himself. He says that he's opening up, but this journey has brought out a whole new shy person. Kyra says that no one wants to get their feelings hurt, but he's still being guarded. She tells him to get it together, and he agrees that he needs to. Kyra says based on the conversations that she and the ladies have had, they do not think that he is ready to love. He smiles and says it's cool, which was a relief to Kyra, and she asks for a hug. He tells us that he's sad about all the bonds he made and is having to leave behind, but it taught him a lot about himself, and he probably should have put himself out there a little bit more. He's going to take a couple of months to sit back and think about things and then see where it takes him. He says if he falls in love, he'll let us know. Alexis tells AJ that he's going to have to get his act together because the women have decided that he's still ready to love, but they really need him to come with it, and especially with her. Girl. AJ says that his conversation with Alexis was very sobering. He knows that the women want to see a declaration and a clear path with what it is that he wants, because you can be here today and be gone tomorrow. Then he appears to be wiping away fake tears, and Alexis asks if he's crying. He says he's a little emotional because he's not ready to go yet, and she gives him a hug. Crazy. So that was it for episode 6. The ladies decided to eliminate Diedrich this week, and honestly, AJ should have gone home with him, but whatever. The men are set to regain the power in episode 7, so drop down in the comments and let me know what you thought about everything that took place on this week's show. Are you starting to see any new bonds being formed that you think have potential? And what are your thoughts on this week's elimination? Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and share this video to help me out. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll be back shortly so we can break down Season 4, Episode 7 of Ready to Love. Bye, y'all.